Greetings and welcome to another video. This video, I will be going over the terms of service of Second Life. Yes, Second Life's terms of service. A long ass document that no one reads all the way through. But they use it often in the matter of threats and all these misconstrued legalities in order to threaten people. Oh, it's in the toss. You're not allowed to do that. Really? Have you actually read the toss? Can you quote me? Can you quote it to me? Can you quote the toss to me? Really? I know. It's a thing. People will often intimidate or threaten other users of the service with the terms of service. It's annoying, frustrating, and it's quite a very old bullying tactic. So, I'm going to go through the terms of service and I'm going to point out things and make them more relatable in layman terms. Just to help out those that have been misquoting the terms of service. Right, so let's begin. You will find these terms of service on the lindenlab.com/toss page. You can see here. And we will scroll. Terms of service. This part here, it just explains about the agreement and the terms. It describes on the parties, Linden Research Incorporated, and what else it owns, wholly owns subsidiaries, including Telia Incorporated, Telia Branch UK Limited, collectively known as Linden Lab. So that's all Linden Lab. Marketplace, the payment, all that stuff is all Linden Lab. Yeah. Web services, the community forums, the login page, your dashboard, all of that, Linden Lab. So, now, it does tell you in the second paragraph, if you do not agree, you should decline this agreement, in which case you are prohibited from accessing or using the service. I think that's really nice that they tell you up front. If you don't like what we got to say, don't use it. But you will also find that comment reinstated at the bottom, at the way bottom of the terms of service documents. Right. Next, you have the table of contents, online service, which is like a glossary of defined terms. You have the content license and intellectual property rights, eligibility to use the service. This is really important. If you are a child under the age of 13, you need your parents' consent. Goes into the whole age stuff. And then your account registration and billing, termination of your account, what happens when you do this and this and this, what doesn't happen, how you can fix it or how you cannot fix it, or so on. User conduct, infringement notifications, privacy and your personal information, how it's used, how it's collected. If you don't agree with how it's used or collected, then again, they reinstate, don't use the service. Releases, disclaimers, liability limitations, dispute resolution and arbitration, general provisions, and related policies. So in the first section here, 1.1, defined terms, it tells you by definition what all the terms that they use in the terms of service document means. Your account is the entirety of your contractual rights and obligations under this agreement associated with a particular account name. Your username, the account name, it means the name to identify yourself to Linden Labs staff in connection with your account for each product. Content means any works of authorship, creative works, graphics, images, textures, photos, logos, video, audio, text, and interactive features. Anything you upload, content. Anything you create in World, content. Anything that you do creatively while you're in World, content. Intellectual property rights means copyrights, trademarks, service marks, trade dress, publicity rights, database rights, patent rights, or patent rights, and other intellectual property rights or proprietary rights recognized by law. Internet device, that means your computer, mobile phone, or other wireless or internet enabled device. So whatever you use to get into Second Life or get onto Second Life, then that's your internet device. Linden content is the content provided to you in connection with the service, including but not limited to content we created or licensed from third parties, subject to the licenses set forth herein. When I use the word we, that is referring to Linden Lab. Payment service provider means a third party payment service provider as contracted by Linden Lab in its sole discretion, which is the Telia company that we use to buy our Lindens and sell our Linden. Product means any interactive entertainment product or software provided to you by Linden Lab, each of which shall be further governed by an applicable product-specific policy. Each having a product policy. So product would mean like premium membership or morphing services for voice, products that they have, other products that they have. It Servers are the online environments that support the service, including without limitation the server computation, electronic data storage, software access, messaging, and protocols that stimulate the service. So servers, they're in the cloud now, but it doesn't matter that they're servers. So anything that the servers come up with, or any data storage, your user content, your information, software access, how it gets from you to them, from them to you, messaging and protocols that stimulate the service. That's going to be IMs, that's going to be group chat, that's going to be local chat, that's going to be note cards, it's going to be all this stuff. Because it all works together on servers using computations, storage, access, all that stuff. But not really reliable, is it? Because man, it's been years in group chat. Yeah, it still ain't fit. That's okay. Nothing we can do about it, and you'll learn about that later on. Yeah. Service means all features, applications, content, and downloads offered by Linden Lab, including its website, servers, software, Linden content, and user content, as those terms are defined herein. Software is a software provided to you by Linden Lab and/or its suppliers under license in connection with the service, including but not limited to the software for accessing the service and any other communication software, whether facilitating text-based, chat-based, voice, audio, or other communication within or outside of the service, and any application program interfaces the IPAs for use with the service. And you use IPAs for if you want a record of your MP listings, as an example. User content means any content that a user of the service has uploaded, published, or submitted to or through the servers, websites, or other areas of the service. So even if you have a post on the community forums, because the community forums is part of the Second Life website, then it's part of the service. So yeah, that's user content. Virtual space is virtual space that is stored on our servers and made available in the form of virtual units. So virtual space, land. Just memory blocks of RAM on a server. That's really what land is. Really, it's just 16 square foot meters at a time of memory somewhere in the cloud. That's the way I look at it. Websites are the websites and services available from the domain and subdomains of Linden Lab and any related entity or successor domains from which Linden Lab may offer the service. So there you go. That's going to be your Telia, that's payment, that's going to be your, the Linux exchange rate, that's going to be the marketplace. 1.2, the service exists only as long as and in the form that we may provide the service, and all aspects of the service, including your user content, are subject to change and elimination. Linden Lab has the right to change, limit access to, and/or eliminate any aspects, features, or functionality of the service, including your user content, as it sees fit at any time without notice, and Linden Lab makes no commitment, express or implied, to maintain or continue or to permit open access to any aspect of the service. You acknowledge that your use of the service is subject to this risk and that you knowingly assume it and make your decisions to participate in the service, contribute content, and spend your money accordingly. So, Linden Lab can do anything with its service. You put money into it, you don't get what you're expecting back for that money. That's a risk you take. Linden Lab is not obligated to you. It is the God over its service. Linden Lab may, but will not have the obligation to display, maintain, or otherwise make use of any of your user content, and Linden Lab may, in its sole discretion, modify, delete, or otherwise make use of user content without notice or any liability to you or any third party. Linden Lab reserves the right to treat user content on the service as content stored at the direction of users for which Linden Lab will not exercise control except to block or remove content that comes to Linden Lab's attention and is offensive, obscene, abusive, illegal, or otherwise objectionable to Linden Lab, or to enforce the rights of third parties or the content restrictions set forth below in sections 2 and 7, which we will get to eventually. When notice of their violation comes to Linden Lab's attention, such user content submitted by you or others need not, however, be maintained on the service by us for any period of time, and you will not have the right, once submitted, to access, archive, maintain, or otherwise use such user content on the service. One point three. Your user content is not confidential. You represent that your content is original to you and or your minor child. Linden Lab may now, or in the future, offer its users of the service the opportunity to display, publish, distribute, transmit, broadcast, or otherwise make available on or submit through the service, collectively submit user content. We may do this through forums, blogs, message boards, social networking environments, social communities, email, and other functionality. Subject to the rights and license you grant in this agreement, you retain whatever legal cognizable right title and interest that you have in your user content. Each time you submit any user content, you represent and warrant that you are at least the age of majority in the state in which you reside and are the parent or legal guardian, or have all proper consents from the parent or legal guardian of any minor who is depicted in or contributed to any user content you submit, and that as to that user content. A. You are the sole author and owner of the intellectual property and other rights to the user content, or you have a lawful right to submit the user content and grant Linden Lab the rights to it that you are granting by this agreement and any additional terms. All without Linden Lab obligation to obtain obligation to obtain consent of any third party and without creating any obligation or liability of Linden Lab. B. The user content is accurate. C. The user content does not, and as to Linden Lab's permitted uses and exploitation set forth in this agreement, will not infringe any intellectual property or other right of any third party. And D. The user content will not violate this agreement or any additional terms or cause injury or harm to any person. So, if the content of a minor child is in a snapshot or used in some way, then the person, then the, then the user that's taken that snapshot or used that content of a minor must show proof or must have proof that they have consent of the minor and or its parent or legal guardian, basically. They're really strict on the whole minor thing. That's in a different section we'll get to probably in another video. Right. Please remember that the service is a public forum and user content that you submit will be accessible to and viewable by other users, except as may be required to register and or maintain your account. Do not submit personally identifiable information like first and last name together, password, phone number, address, credit or debit card number, medical information, email address, or other contact information on the service. Your account information, your password, that is your responsibility. If you give it up to somebody, that's your problem and that's your fault. Linden Lab and no one else is obligated to help you, to fix the matter, or whatever. No, it's all on you. All on you. So don't do it. Don't do it. Not even if you think it's the love of your life, don't give your password to them. Don't. Don't give your personal information out. Even if you think it's the love of your life, just don't. If you're really into somebody, give it at least 6 months. Give it at least 6 months before you get that serious. Anyway, sorry. Moving on. That was a side note. Except as otherwise described in our privacy policy or any additional terms we provide to you, you agree that your user content will be treated as non-confidential and non-proprietary and will not be returned, and Linden Lab does not assume any obligation of any kind to you or any third party with respect to your user content. Upon Linden Lab's request, you will furnish us with any documentation necessary to substantiate these rights and verify your compliance with this agreement or any additional terms. 1.4. Linden Lab is a service provider and is not responsible or liable for the content, conduct, or services of users or third parties. You understand that Linden Lab is a service provider that enables its users to interact online and display and communicate information and content chosen chosen by chosen by those users. Linden Lab does not control or endorse the content of communications between users or users' interactions with each other or the service. So, you got a problem with someone, don't be surprised because it's the internet. It's Second Life. Linden Lab is not going to babysit you or hold your hand if you have a problem with someone. It's a service it provides you a service. It doesn't provide you with cotton wool and a milkshake and a hug. It doesn't do that. No, it is a service provider that enables its users to interact online and display and communicate information and content chosen by those users. Linden Lab does not control or endorse the content of communications between users or users' interactions with each other or the service. You acknowledge that you will be exposed to various aspects of the service involving the conduct, content, and services of users, and that Linden Lab does not control and is not responsible or liable for the quality, safety, legality, truthfulness, or accuracy of any such user conduct, user content, or user services. You acknowledge that Linden Lab does not guarantee the accuracy of information submitted by any user of the service, nor any identity information about any user. Your interactions with other users and your use of user content are entirely, again, at your own risk. Linden Lab has no obligation to become involved in any dispute that you may have or claim to have with one or more users of the service or in any manner in any resolution thereof. So, this is very important. You acknowledge that you will be exposed to various aspects of the service involving the conduct, how people behave, the content, what people are doing, and services of users, what they're offering, and that Linden Lab does not control and is not responsible or liable for the quality of it, the safety of it, the legality of it, truthfulness, or accuracy of any such user conduct, user content, or user services. Linden Lab is not responsible for the asshats in Second Life. Nope. You acknowledge that you will be exposed to various aspects when you log in. Yep. The service may contain links to or otherwise allow connections to third party websites, like those phishing ones you get in group chats with it looks like a marketplace listing, but it's not. You click on it, you think it's a Linden Lab authentic site, you put your password in, boom, somebody's hacked your accounts. Yeah, Linden Lab is not responsible for that. So when you see those questionable links in group chats, don't click. Do not click. Do not click. Because they're not owned or controlled by Linden Lab. Those are the phishing sites. It looks like a marketplace link, but it's not. Don't click. You agree that Linden Lab is not responsible or liable for the content, policies, or practices of any third party websites, servers, or online services or environments. Please consult any applicable terms of use and privacy policies provided by the third party for such website servers or online services or environments. So you would have to read the third party's terms of service about their third party websites or how their third party servers work because it's not connected to Linden Lab. The service is subject to scheduled and unscheduled service interruptions and loss of server data, which you do not own and for which you will not hold us liable. Linden Lab may on occasion need to interrupt the service with or without prior notice. You agree that Linden Lab will not be liable for any interruption of the service, whether intentional or not, and you understand that except as may otherwise be specifically provided in Linden Lab's billing policies posted on applicable areas of the service and or websites, you will not be entitled to any refunds of fees or other compensation for interruption of service. Nope, you can complain. You can say, "Oh, I wish I had got my money back. Man, it was down for this long. Man, nah." But I will say this. I've been in Second Life for 16 years. There was one occasion many years ago where something happened and people lost time and Linden Lab did sort it out for them. That's all I'll say in that matter. Those of you that are as old as me, you know what I'm talking about. Likewise, you agree that in the event of data loss, we will not be liable for any damage or harm arising therefrom. Linden Lab owns the bits and bytes of electronic data stored on its servers and accordingly will not be liable for any deletion, corruption, or data loss that occurs in connection with the service. Linden Lab will solely determine any deposition of the electronic data stored on its servers and will have no obligation to reproduce, process, transfer, extract, or recreate any data from its servers. Now, here says they don't have an obligation. They don't have to do it. From a personal experience, many years ago, I think it was like back in early 2009, I had a really messed up inventory. Man, I had system folders mixed in with my subfolders. I had half my inventory missing. It was a mess. I tried to figure it out and fix it on my own. Nope, no restart wasn't going to help. I wasn't a premium member at the time. I was a simple basic user. I submitted a ticket and they within 2 weeks later they had notified me they fixed my inventory and they said that it needed a inventory repair and they were really nice about it, so under no obligation. But you know, if you want to get kindness you got to be kind. Boy, I was sad. I was so sad that day, but they were really nice anyway. So when you have like the roll and restart or whatever, and it says don't res no copy objects, and you res a no copy object, there are workarounds where you can get that back, but you can't expect Linden Lab to, meet your demands of like putting it back in your inventory. Also, when you empty your trash folder, yeah, Linden Lab is not obligated to put the trash or undelete your trash folder. That's the only thing in Second Life that you can't fix. That is not fixable is when you empty your trash folder. That and some relationships. But seriously, that is the only thing that is not you won't ever get back. Not fixable. Nope, nope, nope. You could cry, write letters, bribe people, whatever. It's not going to work. Once you empty your trash folder, boop, that's it. It's gone forever. Okay, right. Now, this second section, part two, content license and intellectual property rights, I will stop there and I will continue that in another video. So I hope you've learned a thing or two, at least this far, in the terms of service of Linden Lab. Um, and there you go. I just hope you liked it. And well, if you didn't, I hope you at least learned something. Because that's just try to share what people often just get wrong. Right. Okay. And I will get off my coffee table here and I will, yeah, get my camera right. I will see you later. I will do part two. Bye.